You're looking at the lathe that I recently did a review on, and what I did in a review was just went over the features and showed you the lathe. Today it's time to test it out. I've got a pretty good sized piece of cherry, at least for this lathe, which I've not used yet. It's about 6.5 inches in diameter and it's 2 7/8 thick. And it's a really hard wood, so I'm going to run it through the test now. I've put it in low range just because I think we're going to need it. I don't know. Got to test the power and see how it works. I know a lot of people turn small turnings on a lathe, much smaller than that, lathe this size, and a lot of spindle work. So we're going to try this out, see how it works out. So I'm going to get a couple bowl gouges sharpened up and reposition the camera, and we will start cutting. And by the way, I have it on the faceplate that it came with. Okay, I think the lighting looks pretty good. I'm in a totally different spot than where I usually am when I do my turning, and I have a couple LED lights above me and I can get the light the way I want it, but this doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to start in low range and I'll turn it up until I think it's going to vibrate, and we'll start rounding it up using a 1/2 inch bowl gouge. That's almost 800 RPM. In the first video on this, there was a lot of concern about this being 3/4 horsepower. I checked with the company and they said it will lose a little bit of speed as you cut. They said maybe 30 RPM. It probably depends on what range you're in, but I've got the camera on there to show you what it's doing right now. Not too bad. Feels round. And it is round. So now we'll come back over to this side and start putting the shape on it. I don't think we have to get fancy with the shape on this, because of the color of the wood in there is going to do it all. And again, I'm just sort of grabbed a piece so I could see how the lathe worked, and I got lucky to find a beautiful piece of wood to use. I'm probably going to put a recess here and try the new chuck out that I haven't tried. So I've got to mark that to see where it's at so I don't cut too much off. Alright, I just put that circle on there. That's with the jaws closed, and I'm going to put a dovetail on it, so I'll take a little bit more off of that, but I want to know where I'm at here so that I can do some more cutting in this area. Maybe that much. Okay, let's do a little more shaping. Turn it up. Well, that cut really nice, and I didn't feel much bogging going on. I know they did mention that it has a tendency of losing a few RPMs when you're cutting, but I've never even looked at my lathe to see if it loses much while I'm cutting. It could, more than likely it would. Well, that wasn't bad at all. Getting real excited about the looks of this wood now. I think I'm done with the shape. It's just showing off the grain in here just the way I want. Let's go ahead and cut a recess. I might take a little more off of that if I need that wide of a place for it to sit. We'll see. Let's get this in here first. I'm going to grab this dovetail cutter. Well, that's more than deep enough, but I actually haven't flattened this area yet. So let's do that. Let's see how a negative rake scraper works on this. What I should do is see how the chuck fits. And it's in there, so that's perfect. Alright, that doesn't need to be that wide. Maybe just a little more off. And I think, oh yeah, if I look at this, I have a high spot there, so it needs to come off anyways. There, that's much better. Alright, that is just what I wanted. I'm going to sharpen up my scraper and then we'll finish this out. Well, that's how it's supposed to cut. So this turned out pretty smooth to start with, 240 grit, and I will sand in reverse at about 400 RPM. And I'll get it sanded, and I'll flip it around. We're going to put the finish on it all at the same time. So this is the chuck that they had sent me that fits this lathe perfectly, and I haven't had a chance to use it because my lathe has 1 1/4 by 8. This fits the lathe here with 1 inch by 8 threads. Alright, let's see how that runs. Runs great. Okay, let's get this flattened off and then we'll cut out the inside. Start out at 1,000 RPM. So I'm running this test again at 1,000 RPM. I think at the end of the video I'm going to discuss my opinion on how motors are rated for horsepower. Let me turn it up. 1,400. I mentioned that I wanted to talk about horsepower because it's many years now I've been kind of irritated by how they rate horsepower. I have a 1940s 14-inch Delta bandsaw, the original that started the craze of all the new 14-inch ones. That was the original. The motor's huge. I think it says half horsepower, but I'll tell you what. Back then, they rated horsepower one way and one way only. You knew what you were getting. Today, they rate it wherever they want to get the highest numbers. That's all I got to say about that. So this says 3/4 on it, on this small lathe that I just used. It feels like 3/4 on today's ratings. I don't know what one that's 1.5 would feel like, but my guess is they rate that to get the highest number they can. And like I say, that's always kind of bothered me. Can you bog this little lathe down? Well, certainly you can. If you wanted to try, you wouldn't have to try that hard. I can bog my big lathe and it's 2 horsepower, 220, 3-phase, very powerful. You can still bog it down. You can bog anything down. The trick behind not bogging it down, sharp tools and smooth cuts, controlled cuts. And you can cut with almost anything. We better check it again. Good till right there. And that's got about 1/4 to take off of that. And this, about the same. I bet you we're really close. I have to remember I have a recess there. I really can't get these in there, but I would say that's just about it. So we need to clean up this area here. I'm going to go over this with a negative scraper and then we can do some sanding and we'll get a finish on it because I'm looking forward to that. It's very colorful wood. Alright, sweep some of this stuff up and we'll do some sanding. Alright, I'll be back shortly and we'll get some finish on it. Okay, time for some sanding sealer. Just look at that. I knew that was going to be a beautiful piece of wood. I got to thinking about it, and quite a few years ago, a viewer, Tim, sent me some. I think he said it was wild cherry, and I had it under my shed and it cracked real bad. This piece was cracked real bad. That's why I ended up cutting it to this size. Pretty sure that's where it came from. Isn't that beautiful wood? Wow, I'm sure glad I chose this one. Spectacular. I'm going to do the inside off of camera. It's a little hard where I'm set up to show you that, but I'll come back and show you buffing this side out. I went with 2 thin coats of shellac-based sanding sealer, and now I'm going to use the Axe abrasive paste on it. Turn it up a bit. There we go. Just as smooth as can be. Alright, I've got to get this out of the chuck, sign the bottom, and I'll come back and show you a little bit closer up of it. Well, here it is. Not very big, but it's just got lots of beautiful colors in it. Here's the bottom. 5 5/8 inches in diameter. It's 2.5 inches tall. I took the walls down to 1/8 of an inch. It's kind of fun to do that every once in a while. I used 2 coats of Zinsser Seal Coat, which is shellac-based sanding sealer, and then I used the Axe sanding paste and the Axe polishing wax that he has, and that leaves a very nice smooth finish. So there's a lot of things you could use this for. I guess if you were into craft shows, this would be perfect because I think these would just sell real easily. Or if you just want to make gifts. Or if you're new to turning, something this small might be good to start out with. I'm going to use it probably for almonds because I actually have doctor's suggestions that I eat almonds for bone density. So I took that lathe because I do a lot of segmented work, and I'll be able to use it to assemble and glue segmented turnings on it and not tie up my other lathe for as many as 3 days. So that's why I wanted to do it, and now I have that lathe to do that. I can probably do more segmented turning. Special thanks to Tim for this piece of wild cherry. I know I had a lot of fun turning it, and I sure hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like the video, do me a favor, click that like button and feel free to leave a comment. Both of those things will really help my channel grow. I do lots of different types of turnings, and you never know what might be next, so be sure to subscribe if you want to see more. And a special thanks to all my current subscribers. You really mean a lot to me. So, till the next time, see you later.